Hi, welcome back to Genesis Custom Sabers, and this is one I've been working on for the last couple of months, and I'm very pleased with how it turned out. It's a commissioned piece. The customer wanted me to design something that was kind of had some steampunk elements to it, and it was reminiscent of maybe an Old West revolver in regards to the etching that I've done. So as you can see, there's etching on the pommel and matching etching on the emitter. That was done with an acid etching technique, and I'm really pleased with how that turned out. And of course, these are MHS parts from the Custom Saber shop that I've customized. Had Tim at TCSS do some custom knurling on the segment there, and then I've powder coated it and weathered it. Of course, the emitter is from the Custom Saber shop with a ring that I've machined and mounted, and then of course the etching and the other modifications to get the parts to fit. Machine them to work together. The Saber itself is really high end in pretty much every way. It's got a crystal focus version 6.5 inside. It's got a color extender so that it utilizes the Tri-Cree RG Royal Blue, red green royal blue, to achieve any color for a blade. And achieve any color flash on clash, and that's all customizable through the Rice port, which I'll show you later, so that you can plug it into the computer and interface with the computer on board the Saber and customize the colors and the performance of the sound card. As you can see, it's got a visible crystal chassis. The customer wanted something that was kind of in the vein of a Star Killer, in that the crystal chassis was open and visible at all times, not covered up by a panel or anything like that. So what I did was I did a panel that goes around the circumference of the Saber partially, revealing some copper rods, but then is bolted together so that it maintains an always open status. I separated the crystal chamber and the bar graph section with making two windows instead of one, because when you grip it, I don't want anybody's finger sliding in there and potentially damaging anything. Even those things are really well mounted and shockproof. In the case of the bar graph, it's actually mounted on a flexible adhesive strip so that it moves with the Saber and can handle a lot of abuse and still do its job. But I wanted it to keep it somewhat protected, being that it is in the grip there, so that I made it two windows instead of one. As you can see, I'll do a close-up in a minute. There's a quartz crystal in there. As you can see, it's in standby mode with the crystal flickering, and you can see the copper accents there and the brass accents. Now, because I've moved the Saber, it's put it into ready mode, so the bar graph comes to life, the crystal goes into pulse mode. If I start the Saber up, of course this is my Jaina font, so you got a purple blade. The bar graph does its different functions. I've got the LEDs actually mounted inverted, so the LEDs aren't shining straight out, they're shining back in on themselves, so it gives it a more of a subdued, high-tech kind of look. And when the bar graph's off, of course you can see little green triangles that indicate the polarity of each LED. Of course the crystal in this one is set to correspond to the sound, so it jives with the sound, but it gives you an idea of the inner workings of the crystal chamber. I wanted to age it as well, so the copper and brass and gold fittings in there are aged. I'm really happy with how the crystal chamber turned out and the bar graph. I'm really happy with how the lines turned out. Of course, when you do a crystal chamber, you want all the fittings and everything to run straight and true and line up, and this one does. So this will be a quick rundown of how the Saber operates. It'll also serve as instructions for the new owner. The kill key here, brass kill key. All the accents are weathered brass or copper. So when you pull the kill key, you get access to the 2.1mm recharge port. You can plug in the Saber here to recharge it. Of course, you hear the Saber boot up, and you've got the bar graph that is acting in this mode as a PLI, power level indicator, so it shows that the battery's full. The crystal is pulsing in the programmed pulse mode. That can be changed, of course, with the crystal focus. If I wanted to put a blade in it, the blade slides in here. Now this Saber is suitable for light dueling only, and the reason is because there's so much detail that's gone into the crystal chassis. I don't want anybody to get really aggressively dueling and then stick their finger in there and start working things loose, because over time they'll come loose. Also, to machine the Saber the way I have, the tolerances are quite tight, so I don't know that it'll stand up to the most rigorous dueling. It may, but I'm only certifying it for light dueling, just to protect the Saber. It's more of a showpiece. But it is still functional. You can still put a blade in it and duel at the con with your friends, show off a little bit. So you put the blade in. Blade retention screw, of course, is here to keep the blade from flying out. The power activation button is just a momentary touch on that. Right now it's a blue blade, and it's got my Fates font. All these fonts that you're going to hear are available at saberfont.com, your one-stop spot for all Saber font related things and boot sounds and all kinds of stuff. So you've got a custom animation on the bar graph. The crystal is set to pulse in this mode. The auxiliary button gives you the bright flash on clash, the lockup. In lockup mode, you can also see it goes to power level indicator, showing that I've got a full battery. If I want to change sound fonts, I hold down the auxiliary button. Now I'm in the menu, and you can see with the bar graph it indicates which sound bank. I go to Shatterpoint. Calibrate is my sound font that corresponds with the crystal. So there's no blade color, but when you activate it, you get bar graph animations, and then you get sounds as if you were working on fine-tuning your saber. Of course, Calibrate Sound Font is available at saberfont.com as well, and I'll show you one more. Just because there's different animations and different functions in here. Flourish. It's a custom boot sound. It's also available in the boot compendium I put together called Boots of the Head, available at saberfont.com. You guessed it. So Flourish has got a green blade, bright flash on clash, and of course different bar graph animation. And the crystal, as you can tell, is corresponding to sound. So it's actually flickering with the sound of the saber. So that's the functionality of the saber on the outside. So if I want to take the blade out, I can unscrew the saber here. Now you only want to do this with the kill key out, because as you can see, I'm rotating it, and I'll show you where the recharge port plugs in is lined up. So I want to make sure that the kill key and recharger is out when I unscrew the saber like this. And now I get access to my PVC chassis. You can see my crystal focus sound card, and underneath that is mounted with this band the color extender, and of course all the wiring is run really neatly. So whenever you're putting the saber together, you always want to make sure that you're watching that the wires aren't getting pinched. They're all routed so that everything's nice and everything's clean and nothing catches. But if you wanted to make changes to your SD card, you could of course put the kill key in, shutting off the saber. You can then punch out your SD card there, take it out with a pair of pliers, make changes to it. But if you wanted to activate the real-time internal configuration editor, you would get the rice cable, which comes with this saber. You can get them at the Custom Saber Shop. Plug it in here, plug it into the USB port on your computer, open up the rice software that you get from the Plector Lab Sound website, and you can customize the blade color, the flicker, the volume, all kinds of stuff. So this saber is set up for that. So pretty much all the bells and whistles. Of course, then to put the saber back together again, you pull out the kill key, boot it up, saber screws together. Everything lines up nicely. Now, for warranty purposes, I don't permit anybody to take apart any of the saber. This is all screwed and locked together in certain places. Just what I've shown you there, the removing of the bottom part of the saber to get access to the SD card if needed. So that's this saber. Thanks again for watching.